This week on Bobcat Breakdown, we'll be talking about the latest on the men's and women's hockey teams and checking with how the men's soccer is doing. We'll also take a look at whose stock is rising and who's falling. That's right now on Bobcat Breakdown. Hi, I'm James Anderson, and welcome to Bobcat Breakdown. Tonight, we'll take a look at this past weekend of games for the men's and women's hockey teams. Then we'll move on over to the pitch to check in on how the men's soccer team is doing as they try to repeat as MAAC champions. Tonight, our analysts across from me are Connor Fortier and Arthur Lane. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Pretty good, James.
Great, thanks for having us.
Okay. Well, going into this weekend, the women's ice hockey team was 2-0 before facing off against the University of Maine twice at home. Bobcats would go on to win both bouts. The first game against the Bobcats won 4-0, with freshman TT Cianfrano netting 2 more goals to continue her hot start to the year. The second contest, the Bobcats won 2-0 in a game that saw goalie Chelsea Layden improve to a 4-0 start to the year without giving up a goal yet. Despite the record and good starts to the season, some of the upperclassmen have yet had some trouble putting the puck in the net. As long as Chelsea Layden keeps putting up shutouts, though, they don't really need players like Cheyenne Darkangelo and Emma Woods to put the puck in the net. So just how much longer can the Bobcats go without relying on Layden putting up such performances? Connor, let's start with you.
I mean, I think they can go pretty far. I mean, this is a team that has a lot more depth in scoring than we're used to. Last season, we kind of were expecting Kelly Babstock to put the load on, and then Darkangelo came with a big surprise. But this team seems a little bit deeper. They have Costa back, Darkangelo here, along with TT Cianfrano, like you mentioned, James, who's having a breakout season so far. So I think the scoring will come with this team because it's a much more veteran team, and they're used to now playing with each other after playing through the first 5 or 6 games of the season. So I think it will come, and they won't need to rely as much longer with Chelsea Layden.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this, like you mentioned, this team has great depth. You also have Yuden Johansson that came back. So there's experience and depth and a little bit of youth. So there's a good mix of all. And so I think that this team can go a little bit longer without the seniors and older upperclassmen scoring. But once you get to the Cornells and the Harvards, you're going to need a complete total effort from all 4 lines. And that's where I think that this Bobcat team is going to need some of these upperclassmen to step up. But for now, they're playing very well. They're scoring a lot. And then you talked about the defense. And the defense has been rock solid. That doesn't get as much credit as Chelsea Layden is. Yes, she's been great, but the defense has only allowed 39 shots on her the entire year out of 4 games, which is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the defensive point, because I think a little bit of surprise play this year was Lindsay West. She played a little bit last year. She had some good strides of brilliance there. But so far this year, looking at this main series this weekend, she was playing very, very smart hockey, especially on the defensive side. She was pinching at the right time. She was able to get back when she needed to. So I think her, with Emma Greco, Taryn Baumgart, Kristen Tamberg, those first kind of 2 lines on the defensive back could really carry the team if the scoring isn't there one day.
Yeah, I mean, they only lost 1 player from last year's defense, and Shelby Wignall, and then you also have Sydney Roosler back there as well. That's really been, the core of this team so far, and what's been getting it done for the Bobcats.
Okay, well, with upcoming this year, especially like in conference, Clarkson, who also just won the national championship last year, so that defense is going to start giving up some more goals. When do you guys think the upperclassmen that aren't producing need to start producing?
Well, I think the first game that I circle is Cornell. I believe it's early November, and I think that's when it's really going to need to come. Because if not, then they can get rushed right off the ice. But I think that, there's still some time in between. I think they have 4 or 5 games before they face Cornell. So there's definitely more time for this team and these seniors and upperclassmen to get going. So I'm really not that concerned right now. Now, if they don't show up and they get shut out by Cornell, then there's some concern. But this team is definitely an elite team in the entire country, and they've proved that early on in this season.
Yeah, definitely. They have a little bit of an easy schedule to start off with, UConn, Penn State, Maine.
Yeah.
So if there's a time the seniors on this team can't produce or have trouble producing, it's the time they're doing it right now. And I think they know that. They're certainly aware that, hey, we've been winning games, but at the same time, we can't keep playing like this. You're right. That Cornell game's on the 1st of November. Then you have Union and Rensselaer before you get Clarkson. Clarkson, obviously, the defending national championship, but not having that hot of a year right now after a 3-3. Yeah, they lost a lot for the last national championship game, and then you keep going down. You don't really have anyone until Harvard on December 6th, one of the last games of the season. So that's when they're going to really
the first half of the season.
Yeah, the first half of the season. Sorry. So that's when they're going to really need to buckle down in those middle games between Cornell and Harvard, so they make a push towards the latter half of the season in the ECACs.
Okay. Well, lastly for the women's hockey team, TTC Infrano has gotten off to an extremely hot start with 5 goals in 5 games. She was ranked as the top prospect coming into the year. So a lot of people are saying she can be just as good, if not better, than Kelly Babstock. Is it fair to put those types of expectations on her?
I think it is fair. That's a lofty goal, but I really think that she can be a 200-point scorer for Quinnipiac. And that's a lofty goal, and it becomes harder as you go on because teams start really game planning for you. But from what we've seen from her this year and what we knew about her before she came here, I think that the sky is the limit, and I actually mean that when it comes to her. I know that you're giving me that, but I really think that she is someone that can take this program to another level. Kelly Babstock really brought this program to a national light, but I think that Cianfrano can bring this team to a national powerhouse and do it for all 4 consecutive years. The knock on Kelly Babstock was always, she gets her 50 points like Rick Seeley said, and then, that was about it. But I think Taylor Cianfrano can be a complete player, playmaker for everyone and get this team really where every team wants to go.
Yeah, but I'm going to make this short. Just like Cianfrano's career right now, she has played 5 games in the collegiate level. I don't know if she's saying she's a 200-point getter. I mean, last year we saw Emma Woods with a hot start, and she was playing on that line with Babstock, and we were saying, okay, well, we're losing Babstock this year, so maybe Emma Woods could be something like that. I'm not saying Emma Woods is bad, but I'm just saying, she reached her ceiling towards the middle of that freshman year, and she not just saying she peaked, but we definitely know what we expect out of her. Cianfrano, we're all a little bit excited right now because we realize, the Bobcats lost, a big part and probably the best player in program history in Babstock. So I can understand how you say that, but I think she's 5 games into her career right now. I don't know if I think that's jumping the gun a little bit too early when you think about someone's career and possibly getting 200 points and beating someone like a Kelly Babstock.
Yeah, I understand that, we're very early, but I think that, from what we've seen in a small sample size, she's still adjusting to the game. You see, it's hard to draw the comparison to men's hockey, but you see there's times where kids don't make a great transition early on, and so she's already made that transition. So that's exciting.
Okay. So we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to take a look at the men's hockey team and see how they did this weekend against a tough UMass Lowell opponent. We'll be right back.
Wake up, Quinnipiac! It's the morning after! Hey! Come on, guys, it's time for TMA! Let's go! What's the morning after? Mondays at 10, only on Q30!
Welcome to A Sheer Sensation, North Haven's premier cosmetology service, located at 140 Washington Avenue, minutes from Hamden. We offer an array of services, from basic cuts and colors to lash extensions and formaldehyde-free keratin treatments. We also provide hair chalk and styling for men. When you spend $60, your Q card will get you 10% off. Call us at 203-239-6477 to make your next appointment at A Sheer Sensation.
Welcome to Joya Spa and Salon in Hamden. Whether you want a new look or the perfect wedding day hair, come to us for complete hair and nail care, cuts, styles, updos, extensions, and beautiful dimensional hair color, as well as manis and pedis, acrylics, gels, and shellac. Treat yourself to a facial, a peel, or microdermabrasion. Relax with a variety of massage techniques, including Swedish and hot stone massage. Joya Spa and Salon. Call today.
Welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. The men's hockey team has started off their year with a 5-3 win over Bentley. This weekend they had a home-and-home series with then 9th-ranked UMass Lowell Riverhawks. Here's Tom Albanese and Arthur Lane to break down the game from the Tsongas Center in Lowell.
Thanks a lot, James. The Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team lost this evening's matchup to the Riverhawks of UMass Lowell by a final score of 6-3. So, Arthur, last season for Quinnipiac, they defeated UMass Lowell in both the home-and-home series, both games last season. This season, not off to the best start. What happened to Quinnipiac tonight?
Well, I think the big question this year was Quinnipiac's offense, and it's actually turned out that their defense has been the weaker point. Now, defense is a 5-man operation, so there is some blame on the forwards, but Quinnipiac's defense just wasn't where it usually is, the regular Bobcat hockey defense that we've been accustomed to seeing over the past couple years, and that really let UMass Lowell take charge of the game early, and they really never looked back. There were times in this game where it was close. Quinnipiac started to come back, but UMass Lowell would always shut that hope out immediately.
Yeah, Arthur, you make great points in terms of how Quinnipiac's defense just wasn't there tonight. Now, looking deeper into that defense, they gave up 6 goals tonight, 5 of whom were given up through Michael Gartic. Obviously, the last goal was an empty net goal. On the team's defense, where was the leadership?
I think the Bobcats were lacking leadership on the defensive end tonight. You look to Danny Federico, the fourth-year senior, and you look to him for that leadership as one of the co-captains as well of this Bobcat team, and he just didn't play all that well tonight. He was a -3. He let a couple of guys just walk right by him, and there just wasn't a compete level like we've talked about with Rand so much. The compete level of the defense wasn't there, but it also wasn't there on the offense. The forwards got to play defense as well. You have Matthew Pekka as a -3, you have Landon Smith as a -4, and you have Sam Annis as a -4 as well. So you can't rely on 2 guys to play defense. You need all 5 guys to play defense, and it just wasn't the case. The offense was found too far in the offensive zone. Lowell would get a breakaway odd man rush, and they finished. Once again, give credit to this UMass Lowell team for taking advantage of the opportunities that the Bobcats gave them, and the opportunities were plentiful.
Arthur, we really appreciate all your hard work as an analyst tonight. So the Quinnipiac Bobcats suffered a 6-3 loss to UMass Lowell in the first game of the home-and-home series. This series will go to Hamden tomorrow night for the second game. James, back to you.
Following the loss in Game 1 of the series, the team would come back to the High Point Solutions Arena on Saturday. The Bobcats and Riverhawks would play to a 3-3 tie. Is this weekend a good sign or bad sign of things to come? Because the Bobcats played a pretty high and pretty good UMass Lowell team this weekend.
I mean, I think, like you said, this is a UMass Lowell team that no one was expecting a lot out of. In their opening weekend, they beat BC, jumped up to, I think, number 9 in the USCHO poll. So we know this is a very young UMass Lowell team. They lost 2 of their arguably best goaltenders in school history, in Connor Hellebuck and Derek Carr. So those are 2 big losses, but I don't know if it's that big of a sign. I mean, we noticed against Bentley, it was it was a run and gun. We knew they had to tighten it up. And then this weekend against UMass Lowell, we weren't really expecting them to sweep them like they did last year. So I don't know if it'd be too much of a bad sign for the things to come to this team.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was actually a good thing. I don't think it was a good sign, but I think it was a good thing because you have this team with a quick turnaround tomorrow night against UConn, and then they have a week and a half off to really refine everything. And so I think it was good that someone pointed out their weaknesses. On Friday night, there was a lot of problems. On Saturday night, there was an improvement, but the first period was still very poorly played. But I saw improvement as the game went on, and some freshman Landon Smith stepped up, which we've been talking about, we expected. So I think there were good signs, but there was also signs that this team needs to correct things quickly, or they're going to get steamrolled when it comes to the ECAC, because the ECAC, as we all know, is a very competitive league, one of the best in the nation.
Yeah, but I think that'd be something that the coaching staff we kind of trust them enough to do that with Reed Cashman, Bill Riga, of course, head coach Rand Pecknold, and I'm sure they heard it from this past weekend and how they really need to tighten it up as far as on the defensive front. We saw a lot of changes on that second night, which I'm sure we'll touch on earlier, but one of the biggest things in the forward lines was Tim Clifton, Alex Barron getting a lot of shifts playing up front, and with the apparent injury of Travis St. Dennis, no official word yet, but he did not play a lot in that game after that first period. So I think this is a team that needs to have this week and a half off of rest and really recuperate until they get to Northeastern in 2 weeks.
Okay, well, after giving up 6 goals in the first game against UMass Lowell, Michael Gardig, he spent the next game on the bench. Freshman Sean Lawrence got the nod for the start in Game 2 of the series. He played to the 3-3 tie, looked pretty good at points in the game, made a couple tough saves. Do you think this is going to be a more regular thing, seeing Lawrence get starts over Gartig, or is this just like a one-time thing?
I definitely don't think it's a one-time thing. I think we're going to see this throughout the season. Gartig, I believe, is still the starter. I think that no one will argue that. But I think that the point of this was to say, hey, Gartig, you have an 8-10 save percentage. Your goals against average is too high. We need to light a fire under you. And I think that's what they did. Sean Lawrence looked very good for a freshman in his first ever NCAA college hockey game. He did play against Acadia in the exhibition, but he looked very good positionally. A couple redirects, he got shielded on one of the goals, so not all his fault on the goals. So I definitely liked what I seen from him, but I liked the move by Rand Pecknold to kind of say to Gartig, this isn't just you come in every day and you're going to be the goalie no matter what. So I like the move, but I don't think it's a permanent thing that we're going to see Lawrence, but I definitely think that we're going to see Lawrence more regularly.
Yeah, this is something I kind of wanted to see coming into this year. Gartig not playing all the games like he did last year. He started every single game, only got subbed out once or twice with Jacob Myers in the middle of a game if it was a blowout. But it was, this shows that this coaching staff has a lot of confidence in Sean Lawrence. We didn't, like I just mentioned, Jacob Myers didn't come in at all last year, and then as soon as this happens, early in the season, Lawrence comes in. One good thing I did like about Lawrence in that game was the ability to play the puck. We see it happen all the time with Gartig kind of fumbling the puck around in the back of the net or just completely whiffing on it, letting it go all the way around the boards. Now, if that's a dummy fake, we don't really know, but we don't see Gartig play the puck that much, and that seems like something Lawrence can do. I don't really give Lawrence credit, so I don't think it was that much of his fault on the first goal. That's when a UMass Lowell player came around. He was outside of the crease, and he got run over. He got up very quickly, but still the shot was right after you got up. And like you just mentioned, playing in your first NCAA career game, that happening to you, you kind of expect that to happen. I thought he looked good as far as the breakaway saves. There was 2 breakaways in that game that, you expect Gartig would make, but you have that in the back of your head that this might not happen. And for a team to play this run and gun type of style like the Bobcats have tried to do so far this year, it was good to see Sean Lawrence back there, and it looked like he gained a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, and I think it's not fair to blame Michael Gartig for all the goals because the defense hasn't been where we've said it needs to be. But I think that it's a team effort that's going to have to keep going, and they'll get there. But I think that Sean Lawrence kind of gave a boost to the team by having a good performance.
Okay, well, we're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, we're going to take a look at whose stock could be rising and who might be slipping. Stick with us here on Bobcat Breakdown.
Welcome to Joya Spa and Salon in Hamden. Whether you want a new look or the perfect wedding day hair, come to us for complete hair and nail care, cuts, styles, updos, extensions, and beautiful dimensional hair color, as well as manis and pedis, acrylics, gels, and shellac. Treat yourself to a facial, a peel, or microdermabrasion. Relax with a variety of massage techniques, including Swedish and hot stone massage. Joya Spa and Salon. Call today.
Welcome to A Sheer Sensation, North Haven's premier cosmetology service, located at 140 Washington Avenue, minutes from Hamden. We offer an array of services, from basic cuts and colors to lash extensions and formaldehyde-free keratin treatments. We also provide hair chalk and styling for men. When you spend $60, your Q card will get you 10% off. Call us at 203-239-6477 to make your next appointment at A Sheer Sensation.
Wake up, Quinnipiac! It's the morning after! Hey! Come on, guys, it's time for TMA! Let's go! What's the morning after? Mondays at 10, only on Q30!
Welcome back. We're going to take a look right now at whose stock might be rising and whose is falling. I'll give a player or a team to our two analysts here, and then we'll talk about whether they think their game is rising or falling right now. So this first one was a little highly contested between the two of you off air prior to the show. So I'm curious, what do you two gentlemen think about Connor Clifton's play so far?
You can go first.
I think that he hasn't hurt his stock this year. I don't think he's risen it a ton, or I don't think he's risen it, much. But I think he's risen it a little. Sorry. But I think that we've seen a lot of penalties out of him early, and I know that turns a lot of people off. But I think that, his presence, he's only a -1 on the year, a lot better than some of the other defensemen on the team. So, and he just is a physical presence on the ice. And I think that guys almost look behind them more when they know that Connor Clifton's on the ice. So I think that he's a very important piece of this defense. And, the sky is also really the limit for him. He has so much potential that it's just, taking less bad penalties and stuff, and I think he'll get there. And a guy that, by the end of this year will really have it figured out.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the leaders last year in the nation for penalty minutes. He already has 12 on this year, so he's not having a great average as far as penalty minutes, but like we said about how his ceiling's high, but I think if this becomes too much of a distraction, his stock could eventually fall. We understand he's an unbelievable pure talent, one of the true players on the team as far as his age and his grade, being a true sophomore, national draft pick of the Phoenix, Arizona Coyotes. Sorry now. But but I think if this becomes too much of a distraction in the college game, it could really have his stock fall. I understand he's, like I said, a really, really good natural talent, but if this becomes too much of a distraction now, I'd have to watch out a little bit.
Okay, well, next, we're going to switch over to fall sports. These teams are coming into the final month of the year and are in the middle of conference play. The field hockey team recently beat Bryant in double overtime and are going into a big MAAC matchup against Rider, the other top team in the conference. So, guys, is field hockey's team stock rising or falling? I'm going to start with Connor.
I think they're rising. I think we got a little bit worried about in the beginning of the year, but they weren't winning as many games as we thought they were going to be. This is a team that's still, even though we've talked about it, even though she graduated last year, Jess Rusin, kind of like a Kelly Babstock as far as the program goes, found being the best player. But this is still a team that was picked #1 and picked to win the MAAC, and I think it's rising a little bit. They don't have that much. They have, like you said, Rider, Monmouth, and Sacred Heart to round out the last back half of the schedule. So this is something that, they can take advantage of these games, and now there seems like they're hitting their stride a little bit. Mid-Con boys been amazing all year, and when you have Danielle Allen up front and some of the newer girls producing like they have been, I think the team's rising.
Yeah, I'll agree that they're rising. Their strength of schedule, I really liked what Coach Beckham Main did, was really schedule a tough out-of-conference schedule. I believe they've played 4 nationally ranked teams, including defending champion UConn. And so I really like what they've done, because all those teams are better than any team in the MAAC. And so you kind of see where you need to be. Once again, like I said earlier about UMass Lowell, pointing out the your weaknesses on the team and being able to fix those before you really get into what really, really counts. So I think that their stock is definitely rising. We're really going to learn a lot about this, how high the ceiling is for this team in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, you could also attribute the early struggles a little bit to how young they are. I think they have like 11 freshmen on the team right now, so that definitely could play a factor, that getting used to the level of play for the college game. And lastly, we're going to move over to women's soccer. Last year they finished 3-3-4 in MAAC play, ending up 6th in the conference. This year they are 1-5-1 and are 10th in the MAAC. However, all of their goal scorers from this year are returning next season. So looking a bit further ahead in the future, is women's soccer stock rising or falling? I'm going to start with Arthur this time.
Well, this is, as a finance person would say, a long-term stock. I'd invest in a long-term stock. I would not invest in a short-term stock. This team, I don't see winning many more games this year in the MAAC season. But, next year they could have a decent team. But, for right now, I'm not overly enthused by them. But as going forward, like you mentioned, they all have, all the goals have been scored by underclassmen, so that's definitely a bright spot. But there hasn't been that many goals anyways, and they really don't play well on the road, which are 2 massive problems. So I'm not going to buy the stock. If it was a long-term stock, I'd think about it a little more, but not buying stock.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make this quick, and I'm going to say that their stock is rising. I really trust head coach Dave Clark. Jess Fontaine is an amazing talent right now. We've seen the underclassmen, like we said, produce this year, Give them another year with head coach Dave Clark in the system. This team could be something special for the future to come.
Okay, well, thank you guys for that. And when we come back from our final break, we're going to stay on the pitch and we're going to look to men's soccer and their bid to repeat as MAAC champions.
Welcome to Joya Spa and Salon in Hamden. Whether you want a new look or the perfect wedding day hair, come to us for complete hair and nail care, cuts, styles, updos, extensions, and beautiful dimensional hair color, as well as manis and pedis, acrylics, gels, and shellac. Treat yourself to a facial, a peel, or microdermabrasion. Relax with a variety of massage techniques, including Swedish and hot stone massage. Joya Spa and Salon. Call today.
Welcome to A Sheer Sensation, North Haven's premier cosmetology service, located at 140 Washington Avenue, minutes from Hamden. We offer an array of services from basic cuts and colors to lash extensions and formaldehyde-free keratin treatments. We also provide hair chalk and styling for men. When you spend $60, your Q card will get you 10% off. Call us at 203-239-6477 to make your next appointment at A Sheer Sensation.
Wake up, Quinnipiac! It's the morning after! Hey! Come on, guys, it's time for TMA! Let's go! What's the morning after? Mondays at 10, only on Q30!
Welcome back. Finally tonight we're going to look at the men's soccer team. The team went into their Saturday game against Monmouth with a 3-0-1 conference record. The game was a rematch of last year's MAAC Championship that the Bobcats won in penalty kicks. Like that match, this game also went into extra time, but ended in a 0-0 tie. Bobcats have 5 more games left in the year, all in conference play, including games against Siena and Iona, and those are the 2 top teams ahead of Quinnipiac right now in the MAAC standing. So, guys, what do you take away from the game against Monmouth? I'm going to start with Connor.
Well, it was exactly what I really thought it was. I was there last year at the MAAC Championship game between Monmouth and Quinnipiac. They really traded chances both times, but both goalkeepers for this team are so good with Borja Goita and Klonovsky for Monmouth. So we expected this to be a level-headed game, and an interesting note on the game on Saturday, Max Rothenbucher didn't play. Max Rothenbucher, who we've talked about a lot this year, being that catalyst, kind of be the attacking midfield, taking over almost for Simon Hine as far as being the spark plug, and he's worked well with Marshall Baker. We've seen how amazing year he's had. Rothenbucher didn't play that game, so that was something that's definitely interesting to note on how it still came to a 0-0 tie.
Yeah, I was impressed by both teams. I think from watching all the teams that have come to play the Bobcats this year, there hasn't really been a team that was as defensively solid as Monmouth was. And so I think that it was a good test for both teams, kind of to see where they're at. They know that they're 2 of the better teams in the MAAC. You also got to talk about Iona in that, and I know that Siena's playing well. But I think that it was like what you said. It was what we expected. I wasn't expecting a goal. I would have been surprised if there was a goal. And so there were good chances on both sides. Borja and Goita had to make some good saves. More of the Bobcat shots went right at the goalie for Monmouth, so I don't think that we saw as much. There were a couple of chances. James Doig had a wide open net. I believe Rafael Carvalho had a wide open net, and they both just kicked it right at the goalie. So interesting both ways, but these teams will meet again. It's the inevitable at this point.
Yeah, this is one of the more physical back lines the Bobcats will face all year.
Absolutely.
You have Ajimanj, who's both center mids. Ajimanj, who comes in at 6'4", and then Matt Jeffrey, who comes in at 6'4" as well. 2 very big physical backs for Monmouth, and like I said, this is one of the more physical back lines they'll face all year. If they would have got a goal, I would have been surprised because this is not the Bobcats don't exactly have a physical up front. Marshall Baker's more of a speedy guy. They don't have Ogunjobi anymore, who was their physical guy up top. They have Tanner Jobe now, the transfer from Southern Connecticut State University. So this was kind of a testament to how the team's going to play this year, and I think they know where they have to be now.
Okay. And lastly, do you guys think that the Bobcats have a legitimate chance to repeat as MAAC champions? I mean, they still have Siena and Iona, the two teams ahead of them right now in the MAAC, coming up in their conference play and in these last 5 games. So, Arthur, let's start with you.
Well, I think we know the 4 teams that are going to make the MAAC tournament are Siena, at this point, Iona, Monmouth, and Quinnipiac. So I think it's going to be an all-out battle in the MAAC tournament. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. But you know, any of the 3 teams, Monmouth, Iona, or Quinnipiac, I think could really win. I think it really comes down to defense and goaltending. We saw Borja and Goita really take over the MAAC tournament, especially in PKs as well, even scoring 2 PKs. So, you know, I think that that's really what it comes down to. I would be really surprised if all 3 teams aren't working every single practice on PKs, because it's something that is going to happen in the MAAC tournament.
But not Siena, though, even though they're first place right now in the MAAC.
I don't think Siena's up in that upper echelon with the team. They've definitely had a strong year up to this point. I would be surprised if they finish the regular season in first, though.
They were a bit of a surprise this year.
Yeah.
So, Connor?
I personally don't think the Bobcats could possibly get a repeat for the MAAC championship. I noted that earlier in the season, said it was the most important game, not even knowing Siena was going to be how good they are going to be. That last game against Iona, that's going to be so important. Julian Petrello was one of the best tenders in the conference. So you mentioned it's all about defense and how the goaltending is. Julian Petrello, I think can carry his team. He carried his team pretty far last year with Iona, and it was really a big battle between him and Borja and Goita. And Goita, I don't know if it has him up again. We've seen him kind of falter a little bit this season because he had such a good season last year. When you say Borja and Goita falters, it doesn't mean he completely blew a game.
Yeah.
But I think Petrello, I would have a little bit more confidence in Petrello in the postseason, seeing how he played last year against Goita.
Okay. That'll be it for us here on Bobcat Breakdown. I'd like to thank Connor Fortier and Arthur Lane for being our analysts tonight. Remember, for all things Quinnipiac sports, follow us on Twitter at Q30 Sports. Make sure to watch all of the episodes of Bobcat Breakdown and more on Q30television.com. For everyone here, I'm James Anderson. Have a good night.